Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this evening's Cabinet meeting. Just the housekeeping first, if that's okay. We've got fire evacuation procedures for the evening are that if there is an alarm, it is real, so can you please use the exit at the rear of the room, down the stairs and out into the War Memorial. And Paul, don't disappear, because we'll need to count you in and count you out, as with everybody else. It is everyone downstairs in case that happens. Webcast of the meeting is taking place, so please bear in mind that's live now and will be on the internet to watch back later. Can we turn our phones to silent or to off, if you don't mind, please? And the microphones are in front of you, and it's the right-hand silver button to speak, Paul, if you get that far. Okay, colleagues, any apologies for absence? We're all here and present. Declarations of interest on the agenda this evening? None? None. There are no urgent matters this evening. Minutes of the meeting held on the 16th of September. Having had the papers, are there any points that I need to raise on the minutes? Or are you happy for me to sign them as a true and accurate record of the meeting? I will sign them as such, thank you. Okay. Item 5 is lead and portfolio holder announcements. John, I understand that you have an announcement. Thank you.
Yes, I'm delighted to announce that Basingstoke and Dean Borough Council has again been recognised for its commitment to ending violence against women and girls by being re-accredited by White Ribbon UK. This follows on from our first achieving White Ribbon accreditation in 2022. It means we can start work on a new 3-year programme aimed to change attitudes and cultures that lead to abuse and violence. And we all have a responsibility and a part to play in creating environments that women and girls can live free from fear of violence. So the continuation of this work will be supported by our partners and will help to increase safety in the borough. And I encourage councillors, residents and visitors to the borough to show their support by taking the White Ribbon Pledge. So this reaccreditation is one part of the important work the council does to combat inequality and violence in all its forms, running closely alongside all the other work the council has been undertaking around domestic abuse in recent years. Thank you.
Thank you, John. That's really good news. Really, really good news and important to us. I have one announcement to make, which is that following the full council meeting on the 25th and our cabinet meeting prior to that, the local government reorganisation proposal was sent to government on the Friday following on that 26th of September, and it was sent on behalf of all the 11 authorities that approved it and the 12 that worked on producing it. Okay, colleagues, item 6 on the agenda are recommendations from Resident Services Committee on Community Buildings Policy. And this is a report of the chair of the Resident Services Committee to us, and we have some recommendations to consider. John, would you like to respond to that one now?
Yes, so regarding the community buildings policy, I'd like to acknowledge the constructive engagement of the Resident Services Committee and welcome their comments and recommendations. The policy is on the agenda for November Cabinet, and officers have considered the recommendations and have made relevant amendments to the policy. These include a preferred minimum storage in new buildings and referencing the assets of community value process, the approach to letting investment properties to the community and voluntary organisations, and the rollout of new leases and SLAs for community centres, which are all separate from the community buildings policy. The planning team is also assisting with producing a map of planned sites to include with the maps of existing community building locations, and the recommendation relating planning policy has been shared for consideration as part of the emerging policies associated with the new local plan.
Thank you, John, for introducing that. We have one public speaker this evening, which is Mr. Paul Beavers, who wishes to speak on this particular item. Paul, would you like to address the committee? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm speaking on behalf of Hatchwarren Nature Group regarding the recommendations of the Resident Services Committee. The draft policy sets out the Council's proposed approach to the provision of new community buildings and additions or improvements to existing community buildings in the Borough to 2042. Agenda, page 15, item 1 of the recommendation states, the policy should include a preferred storage space standard as the 10% of floor space given to storage to allow space for both centre and other local community users to store equipment is often inadequate. Hatchwarren Nature Group agrees with the recommendation for more space for new and existing buildings, but fear that wording in the final policy will be inadequate unless there is more consideration and discussion about how community green space will be managed in the future, what equipment and tools might be needed, where best stored, how stored and how fitted out. Tool storage and workspace for conservation groups should be included in the definition of a community building, which it's not now, together with explicit recognition of the need for storage, workspace and funding for conservation groups. Secure portable storage buildings that can be replaced by bigger or smaller units as needed might be one option. There is an inbuilt presumption in current thinking that space for hand tools is sufficient. After 11 years, Hatchwarren still does not have storage space of its own and is no nearer getting any. Tools are stored between homes, Beggar Wood and Downgrange. Volunteers have stored tools in homes for years, including tools like a scythe mower and trailer. As I and colleagues can attest, there has never been community-focused green space management planning. A discussion with a previous operations manager revealed that he too felt hindered by inadequate storage space in parts of the town, including Hatchwarren. Old Down is, I fought for a tool store to be included in the Beggarwood community building for conservation. The group was never consulted on how much space, and Hatchwarren Community Centre were handed control and to this day continue to occupy some of that space. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. John, would you like to respond to any of that, or?
I'll only to acknowledge what Paul says, and to bring that thinking into my thinking as we discuss new community buildings. I'd be happy to meet separately to look at some of the existing buildings to see if there's anything that can reasonably be done. Thank you.
And that's very fair. Any other comments from anybody else? No? Thank you very much, Paul. It's appreciated. Colleagues, you have the paper in front of you, and we have the recommendation from and what John has suggested. Are you happy to proceed in that fashion? Agreed? Thank you. Item 7 on the agenda this evening are recommendations again from the Resident Services Committee, this time on the Housing Renewal Policy 2025. It's a report of the Chair of the Resident Services Committee for us to consider. Laura, would you like to respond, please?
Thank you. Thank you to Resident Services for their recommendation, which we will take on board in producing the draft strategy. The recommendations were to rename this policy to reflect more clearly what the policy is, and to look at performance measures, data and relevant KPIs. The final draft strategy will come back to Cabinet in December. Again, can I thank the exceptional team that implement this work. The Disabled Facilities Grant has massive public satisfaction. We are aware there was 18 months of waiting in a waiting list from county for an occupational therapist back in April. Without this assessment, a grant and the process cannot start. Officers are meeting in November to have feedback on what county have done to address this worrying backlog. Disabled facility grants are well used and thought of highly by everybody who uses them. A big thank you to our officer team, and I move the recommendation.
Thank you, Laura. Colleagues, any other comments from anybody? Are we happy to proceed in the way that's been set out? Thank you, that's agreed. Colleagues, item 8 on the agenda is Q1 Capital Monitoring Report. Gavin, would you like to introduce?
Yes, Q1 capital monitoring. So we're only 3 months into the year. The point this report was published. Pleased to report there's no significant variance, but it is just Q1. This report will have to go to the council for approval because there are a few changes to the capital programme. One of them relates to Manydown, where there's been a delay in getting the Homes England loan for developers. So we're looking to use some of our money to avoid any delays whilst they're waiting for that. Obviously, once the new Homes England money comes in, we will get that money back. So it's as a loan. So although it sits in the capital programme, it is money that will be coming back to us. There's also been a slight reduction in the capital spend in relation to the new waste contract. Obviously, as things have settled, it's been identified that some of those things are better as counted as revenue, so there'll be a sort of switch between the two budgets. In addition, there's £644,000 towards the Local Authority Housing Fund. We've received some grant funding from government to deliver more affordable homes, and that will be something that I know Laura James will be working very hard to spend very quickly, as is her way. We also have some further funding towards affordable housing schemes, which is funded by 106 Monies from Offsite Developers, and I think that's looking more at rural areas and how we make sure we maintain the level of affordable housing in those areas. So those changes will go forward to full council to agree, but other than that, we're actually on track. There's no significant variances within the existing capital programme from what we set out in our budget in February.
Brilliant, that's really good to hear. Colleagues, do we have any other comments on the paper? Happy to receive as is the recommendations? Agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. Item 9 on the agenda is the revenue monitoring report. Gavin, again.
Yes, the revenue report is just for noting. This is one that, again, is Q1. Again, pleased to report that we are on track in terms of the budget. There is a slight underspend. The only significant underspend, sort of more than £100,000, relates to planning, and that's really down to the delay of the local plan. So we can blame the government for that one, because we've obviously had to delay what we were going to do in terms of Reg 19 for a bit longer. So that's the reason the underspend is there. Obviously, it will catch up with itself over time, but no significant variances. It's good to see that we are on track with the budget, but there is still no spare money. I just put out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Gavin. Again, the recommendations are in the report. Does anyone have any comments on the papers before us? No. Happy to receive the recommendations as paper set out. Agreed? Thank you. Item 10 on the agenda is reaching carbon neutrality for the council's operational emissions. And Chris to introduce the paper. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Leader. So this paper sets out a pathway for how this council addresses its environmental impact and how it's going to work towards carbon neutrality. Since declaring a climate emergency back in 2019, this council has significantly reduced its net emissions by around 2/3. Further work has also played a part in the whole of the borough's emissions, falling by around 1/4 since then as well. We continue to cut carbon from our services, having already swapped our mowers, sweepers and bin lorries from diesel fuel to biofuel, with up to 98% lower emissions. This council's work to tackle climate change crosses all our portfolios, from major projects like shaping an all-electric community at Manydown through to making our properties and others more efficient. And we're supporting our communities too, to go greener too. We've installed over 50 chargers to help people swap to electric vehicles, and there are more to come. We have an increasing fleet of electric taxis via our grant scheme. We are rolling out solar panels to our council-owned community centres, and we were among the first councils in the UK to launch a green team, and our carbon-busting experts are making an impact. They've already engaged thousands of people and visited nearly 1,500 homes and businesses to offer free support to spark climate change and nature action at the grassroots level. And we're now working to replace our much-loved aquadrome with a more efficient sports and leisure facility that will significantly contribute to reduce our carbon emissions to our target level. Following work with the Carbon Trust, resident consultation and partnership working, we are updating our climate strategy by the end of this year. Tackling the climate emergency runs throughout everything this council does. It is committed to continued action to become carbon neutral as soon as possible. Now, as you members will recall, a previous cabinet's decision saw this council begin purchasing carbon credits with the aim of offsetting the emissions for past years. So tonight, through this paper, I'm proposing we take a different approach. Going forward, this council intends not to purchase any more carbon credits. Instead, it commits to tackling climate change through action. In order to address the historical delay to the delivery of a new aquadrome before we reach our 2025 deadline, then the council currently owns 1,331 carbon credits purchased under the prior cabinet's decision. So rather than this going to waste, I prefer that this council puts them towards its symbolic but significant pledge to be carbon neutral at the end of 2025. So right now, the Council expects its net emissions for this calendar year to be under the 1,331 tonnes of carbon. That means its 1,331 credits may be enough to fully offset its emissions to zero, thus meeting its carbon neutrality target. But these numbers are likely to be tight. The Council, we will only know our figures for 2025 next spring, summer, once a complex gathering and analysis system has taken place. It is looking positive though, so I think it's important that this Council presses ahead to put preparations in place that could see it meet its ambitious plan. And I would look forward to hearing your thoughts tonight on this approach and to ask you to support this paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Colleagues, do we have any contributions on this paper? Gavin?
Yes, thank you, Chris, and thanks for all the amazing work you and your team have done to get us to within touching distance of net zero, a significant achievement that few other councils can expect to achieve. And I think what's important to express is that clearly if the aquadrome had been replaced many years ago, we wouldn't be in the situation. So frustrating that scheme's going to take a bit longer. It wasn't started a bit sooner, because that will take us into, I don't know what comes after net zero, but we'll Google it, we'll have to next year. I think it's also great that we're not doing more than that, because clearly it's not just about what this borough generates. Climate change doesn't care where the CO2 emissions are created. And the work the Green team are doing, the work on the solar panels on community centres, is all now starting to address the issue around carbon emissions throughout the borough, which is very important as well. So it's not like the council's just done one thing, we're also doing another thing as well to tackle climate change, and highly applaudable. I know sometimes out there in the political media there are others that seem to have decided that you can build on anything, you can crush biodiversity, and climate change is a myth. All the while I'm in this authority, that will not be the case. Absolutely committed to climate change, responsibility to my children and their children to make sure they have a planet they can live on, and hopefully this council will continue the good work that we've been doing over recent years.
Thank you very much, Gavin. Anybody else? Just to say thank you to Chris for leading on the work with the team, and then a huge thank you to the officer team who have put a huge amount of work into bringing this paper forward, but also across the entire organisation, because it's been an entire organisation approach to achieving where we've got to, and that deserves to be really, really called out for being superb, and thank you. In terms of consultation and engagement, it's also worth just saying that, you know, members have been thoroughly involved in the conversations on this and in taking it forward. This is an honest approach. I think this is a straightforward, honest approach to how we deal with meeting our targets and commitments, and we can't underestimate the importance of the new aquadrome and achieving that in comparison to what we had picked up with the old aquadrome. So yeah, I think it's right that we don't continue to purchase credits, that we stop that we take these recommendations as they're set out on the paper. So colleagues, if you're happy with the paper as is, and there are no further comments, we have the recommendations in front of us. Are you happy to take them as agreed? Agreed. Thank you very much. On the basis of that, that is the end of the meeting this evening. Thank you very much. Take care. Thank you.